Danny breezed through the very first test, but the second was a twisted death trap, one that only cooperation and luck could overcome. The room itself was lethal. Temperatures plummeted while frost crept across every surface. Naive and still riding the high of solving the first room, Danny genuinely believed this was all just part of the game.
Just a sound effect, the ice isn't cracking.
The tools provided were a cruel joke. A simple fishing rod and a heavy-duty magnet, turning their survival into a twisted carnival game. They searched the mystery lake until the magnet clunked against something solid, a perfectly square block of ice, the exit key frozen deep inside like a fly trapped in amber.
That's gotta be the key to the door.
They smashed the block against the deck, but it was diamond hard. Brute force was useless. The realization hit them all at once. They didn't need force, they needed fire. All eyes turned to Ben the stoner for a lighter. He did something that unknowingly led to a tragedy. He tossed the lighter, and Danny went to retrieve it.
Hey, I'll get it.
The ice caved in. If he could, he would never repeat what he had done. Panic surged through him as the cold bit deeper, every muscle locking with the freezing grip. He tried to claw his way out, heart pounding, but the ice held him fast. Hypothermia set in instantly, turning his thoughts to slush. The others scrambled to grab him, but it was too late. A simple lighter toss had trapped him in an ice prison forever. Amanda's fight wasn't against the cold. It was against something far worse. As they stepped into a new room, their entire world flipped upside down, quite literally. Walls, floors, and ceilings spun in dizzying disarray, leaving everyone disoriented and nauseous. The air was thick with tension. Amid the chaos, a phone rang.
Hello?
Mike, trembling, picked it up, and the room erupted into panic. The piercing sound made everyone cover their ears, fear and confusion taking hold. Amanda, however, refused to succumb. Focused and determined, she sprang into action while the others watched, paralyzed in awe. She scanned the room, looking for a way to silence the ringing, and tried the radio, but it failed. With several critical items missing, items that could be their only path to escape, she took matters into her own hands, carefully climbing toward higher ground.
Are you okay?
Yeah, it's just wet.
Suddenly, Zoe spotted a solution. She solved the sliding puzzle, triggering a section of the floor to open. Almost everyone fell in a scramble for grip, sliding and flailing in panic. But Amanda, already steady on solid ground, remained safe. Thanks to Zoe, Amanda now had the code to the safe. She retrieved the 8-ball and they cautiously navigated the remaining panels toward the exit. But as she moved, the 8-ball slipped from her hands. In a split-second attempt to recover it, the platform gave way beneath her. Amanda clung desperately to a thin telephone wire, heart hammering. And then, despite every effort, she fell into the void below. Being a hero cost her life. Mike. The trap that took Mike was a sterile nightmare, a hospital ward designed to play on their deepest traumas. The air was thick with chemicals and emotions were at an all-time high. This particular room revealed a scary side to Jason. Others were sad because Amanda was just lost, but Jason was fully aggressive, asking Mike questions he possibly couldn't have answers to.
You see anything?
Something came to light, a common thread that linked them all. Each had endured strong traumatic experiences that had kept them in the hospital for a time. Everything was staged like absolute cinema, from their hospital files to the beds, forcing them to relive those sad moments. One by one, they shared their experiences. Mike's story was particularly heartbreaking.
I heard him take his last breath.
An eerie truth was revealed. All their accidents weren't accidents at all. They were planned by these same people. A timer started and the stakes grew. The players began to panic. It only got worse when they realized they would be poisoned if they didn't solve the puzzle. The only problem? The door would only open when a particular heart rate threshold was met.
Heart rate's too low.
Desperate to reach the heart rate threshold, Jason did something that not only killed Mike but brought back his trauma. Believing they needed a massive spike, he grabbed the defibrillator paddles and jammed them onto Mike's chest.
You're gonna kill him!
The crazy part? They required a lower heart rate, not a higher one, meaning Mike died for nothing. Jason had already committed murder before he thought about the situation with a clear head. Jason had one too many close calls, but the final straw came shortly after he killed Mike. In the next room, hallucinogenic lines haunted him, and memories of his crimes flooded in. Ben pieced together Jason's traumatic past and realized that Mike wasn't the first person whose life had been cut short by Jason's relentless need to survive. Yet Jason, unfazed, simply said,
"Surviving is a choice!"
Jason and Ben continued searching for an exit, but when they opened a hatch, they still couldn't make their way out. The effects of the hallucination room began to take hold. The room itself was a weapon, a black and white nightmare of swirling patterns, amplified by the hallucinogen they had been dosed with. Despite the hallucinations, Jason remained as determined as ever to survive. Ben, clinging to life life found a single dose of the antidote and tried to warn Jason, only to be met with flying fists.
I have the...
Jason, consumed by the drug and his win-at-all-cost mentality, saw Ben as the final obstacle. It was a brutal, clumsy fight between two dying men. Ben, no longer a star but a survivor, slammed Jason's head into the wall and injected himself. Jason was left with nothing, and that's how Jason's need for survival led to his downfall. Theo. Theo might have survived his first run, but this Tournament of Champions was a different league. His test wasn't a puzzle, it was a high-voltage execution chamber on wheels. The room was a sealed subway car, the air already crackling with static. The Game Master's voice wasn't a welcome, it was a death sentence.
Keep your belongings inside at all times.
He was trapped in the same hell he had just escaped, only this time it was much worse with bigger plot twists. Theo's overconfident, fight-ready nature had not only put him in trouble, but it also saved him. While everyone else feared getting electrocuted, Theo pushed forward, opening the door that led to the next clue.
Hey, it worked!
Realizing they needed coins, they all scrambled, searching for the tokens that would become their way out. The crazy part? They had to be as careful as possible. The seats could electrocute, the walls, the middle rails, so touching anything other than the ground was risky as it was. Even the air, if metal went through it, was electric. Time was running out. They had to collect all the coins quickly or they would all die. They found the clues one after another and continued to make steady progress. But as the timer ran down, panic set in and everyone began rushing frantically. That's when the real problem hit. Theo was all action and no strategy. In his haste to beat the timer, he spotted what looked like the final piece of the puzzle, only to discover it was a trap that ended his life.
Guys, I found the machine!
Nathan. Nathan escaped the electrical nightmare only for every child's dream to become the end of him. In the previous room, or the bank room, Nathan didn't just have one close call but multiple. First, Rachel hit a tile and the laser almost burned through him. The second near-death experience happened when they finally unlocked a clue that revealed a pattern for walking across the tiles. But as Nathan followed the path, he found another clue that still needed to be solved. Instead of stopping to solve it, he moved ahead, even as the others screamed for him to stop. He was terrified the vault door would close, and he let that fear control him, a mistake that nearly killed everyone. They scrambled through the sand in search of clues and eventually uncovered an anchor, but something was off. Its rope was buried deep in the ground. When they tried to pull it free, the rope snapped and hurled them backward. Nathan was thinking clearly now, refusing to let fear control him. Yet it was still hard to stay rational when the situation itself made no sense. The once solid sand had turned to quicksand, and Rachel was suddenly sinking. After Zoe became trapped in the sand pit, Nathan made a choice that was both heroic and incredibly foolish. He jumped into the quicksand after her. He managed to push Rachel free, but the victory was short-lived. When the others tried to haul him out with a rope, it snapped clean in half, and the desert swallowed Nathan, turning the shifting sands into his final resting place. Rachel. She had survived the high-voltage death chamber, dodged the lasers in the bank vault, and even clawed her way out of a sand prison. But her luck was running thin. As they escaped the sand room, emotion spiked. Fear hit hard, and Brianna struggled to keep up. In the chaos, Rachel followed Zoe's lead, and the three, Zoe, Rachel, and Ben, began climbing the ladder to the next room. But just as safety seemed in reach, something tragic happened. Ben slipped, lost his grip, and fell. After successfully getting out of the sand room, emotions began to flood Zoe. She kept blaming herself for Ben falling off, saying it was her fault because she made him come. With Rachel being the only teammate she had left, Rachel had to give her all to make Zoe stop feeling guilty. They eventually continued on and found a ladder that led to a hatch above them. When they climbed through, they stepped into a fake New York City. But what shocked them even more was who they found there.
Wait! Don't let it close!
This time they were trapped in a city they all knew well. It rained like a normal city. The problem? It's acid, not rain. They all scrambled for clues as the acid began to fall. Brianna and Rachel hid in a phone booth, while Zoe stood under an umbrella next to a taxi. They worked frantically to solve the puzzle, but then a cruel reality was revealed. Only one person could make it to safety. In the end, Zoe managed to get in, leaving Rachel and Brianna to their fate. Brianna lost to the acid rainfall in the most cinematic way possible. But the question remained, how had she ended up in the underground version of New York City? In the sand room, Brianna had discovered an exit, the original exit meant to be used. Time was running out, though, and the others were moving fast. Zoe found another way forward, and Ben tried desperately to convince Brianna to follow behind. That decision, however, would later lead to tragedy for him.
Die before this is over!
We don't know where that's gonna lead. We have to go.
She reached the city first and quickly uncovered an eerie truth about the seemingly beautiful replica of New York City. But when she tried to warn Rachel and Zoe to keep their hatch open, it was already too late.
Wait! Don't let it close!
Brianna had been the most marked of all the escape room traps. From the slight shock that left a scar from the subway to the laser that almost killed her, leaving its mark on her back. Now acid rain fell on her neck. This escape room was the deadliest of all. For the first time in the entire ordeal, Brianna took charge, searching desperately for clues everywhere. As they pressed on, they watched the timer count down slowly. The next acid rain was about to start, and their only cover was a flimsy sunshade. Soon after the first wave ended, they cracked the code, but it was too late. Only Zoe could reach safety. Rachel and Brianna scrambled, but the game master had already chosen the survivor.